political strategist and chief of staff at Young Americans for Liberty, Sean Themea, joins us on the wake-up call this morning. Sean, thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure. Mitch McConnell has it right. This is all a wish list, but the question is how much of it may actually end up being codified in the next budget.
Yeah, time will tell. As a whole, it's dead on arrival for the most part because of the gridlock, but it's not dead on arrival because it's $6.9 trillion. I mean, politicians are addicted to spending money they don't have, whether it's Biden or Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi or even Ted Cruz, right? Some of the people who posture as these limited government conservatives, but they're not all the time. So we're $30 trillion in debt. We're borrowing from China to pay Ukraine, and I don't think that the guy who's been in government for 50 years, Joseph R. Biden Jr., is going to be the one who can, restore the American Republic with the $6.9 trillion budget. But that doesn't mean that McConnell's a good guy either. I mean, it's all a three-ring circus, and at the end of the day, if there's one thing you can count on D.C. to do, it's spend money they don't have, and that's why we need to absolutely call the cut to spending.
Okay, so all that said, where is the president coming up with, this talking point that it's going to cut $3 trillion from the federal deficit?
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, that's voodoo economics, right? Politicians say a lot of things. But, they don't really follow up and get held accountable to what actually happens, right? The $3 trillion cut in the deficit is going to be what's on the front page of the news today and tomorrow, and then maybe 6 months later on the bottom of page 12 in tiny font, it'll say, oh, actually the deficit rose, right? So his economic team is probably more of a PR team than anything. And you can move these numbers around any way you want, it seems, in D.C., and nobody holds that accountable enough. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what passes. I can probably bank on more foreign aid going overseas, as well as more investment into our bloated Pentagon, maybe some more money into some, Medicare and Social Security programs that Gen Z and millennials are never going to actually reap the benefits from because we're going to run out of money by then. We'll see what happens. But if Mitch McConnell could spend the whole $6.9 trillion on his own wish list, he would.
Yeah, I don't think there's much doubt about that. Out of curiosity, do you think it's going to take long to actually put this, budget, whatever incarnation of it's going to be, together?
Yeah, I think that they'll milk it out a little bit, right? Because the Democrats know that even the stuff they really want, it's going to have a hard time passing. So they'll probably use it to wage a PR campaign about why the Republicans are bad and, this budget needs to pass. That's my prediction is, never let a good crisis go to waste, but also never let a good, opportunity to do next to nothing but make someone else the bad guy go to waste. So that's my prediction there.
You mentioned that Mitch McConnell would spend the whole thing on whatever he wanted to if he could. Have the Republicans, lost that whole talking point that they used to claim that they had of, we're the ones that are fiscally responsible, we're the ones that are going to cut the budget, we're the ones that are going to save the taxpayer dollars. I mean, does anybody believe that the Republicans are spending hawks anymore?
Anyone who's paying attention should know that, they showed their cards in 2016 through 2018 when you had the House, you had the Senate, you had the executive branch, all under Republican control. So much could have gotten done. So much government could have been limited. So much spending could have been cut. Instead, you got Trump, the so-called king of debt, just running up the deficit, running up the national debt, spend. The one thing they got done, was Paul Ryan's tax cut. And I'm for tax cuts. There's no such thing as a bad tax cut in my opinion. But, that only did go to one section of America, right? I would have liked to see that go to many different sections of America, especially folks who are struggling to make rent, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, they have showed their cards that, you know, given the keys to the kingdom, they will continue printing the money, they will continue spending the money, and anyone who's paying attention will see that record should be reflected, beyond their rhetoric.
All right. Sean, thanks for joining us on the Wake Up Call this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. You take care. It is News Radio.